it's actually turned out to be a nice day here today, so take y'all outside and let you see kind of what the weather's like here. Kind of gave this thing a bath this morning. It's a lot cleaner than what it was, but we got some pretty blue skies and we got some overcast nasty stuff, but it's not supposed to rain, so I guess the goal for today, as you can see, I've already got the strut off this side, here. Got the rotor and caliper and all that stuff off. It's just kind of hanging out over here. So, goal for today is I'm going to see how much I can narrow the lower control arm here. Because, unlike some of these other builds that I've seen, especially on these cars, we're not going to weld big old giant boxes on our quarter panels. So, we're only about 1.5 inches outside the wheel well here. So, if I can get the control arm shortened, about 4 inches, maybe 5, that'll get us back inside the wheel well, and that'd be a good thing. So I'm gonna plug along here, and I'll probably do a little fast forward video for, just disassembly here or something. But we'll see how it goes. And the weather's definitely on our side, so let's keep going. And at the end there, I kind of struggled with the sway bar end length, but as you can see, it's about rotted in two. It was froze up real good. So this bushing here, but I got all this stuff, tore down. Now I'm gonna do some measuring here. I've already measured from here to the outside of the hub, so we'll pick back up here in just a few minutes and see what happens. Alright, I've been doing some measuring here. We'll probably cut about right here. We need to cut a straight line straight across right there, and that'll give us our ball joint area. This control arm stays pretty much straight, and it starts to flare out about right here. We need more than about 1 inch. So this mark right here is 3 inches, and this mark's 4 right here. After measuring the axle, I can cut 4 inches out of the axle, and the axles are the same on both sides, but it would be more ideal to cut 3. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make my cut here, I'm going to make this cut here, I'm going to cut the sway bar mount off, because I'm wanting to keep the sway bar, just to cut down on wheel hop here. But I'm going to make my initial cuts at the 3 inch mark. I'm just going to tack everything up and mock it back up and see how it fits in before I start cutting axles and tie rods and all that stuff. So I'll be right back. And I just went ahead and took and made me a straight line here and a straight line there. As you can see, it does flare. I've got something for that, but we'll get to that here in just a few minutes. So I'm going to pause y'all again and start cutting. At this point, I've done, made my initial cut here. As you can see, this control arm is actually welded from the factory. I went ahead, cut my sway bar mount off here, because we're going to have to weld that back on too. So now I'm just going to go ahead and make a secondary cut right here. I'm going to keep this because I'm going to have to plate this control arm regardless. And what better to use than the same metal you cut out of it. So be right back. Alright, and I just went ahead and made my 2 cuts. And, just use my little angle grinder here, which I've already put a flat disc on to kind of clean this up a little bit. But we got both our cuts here. And as you can see, you have a choice. You can put it forward or you can put it towards the rear right here. Because this control arm, we know it's slammed in here, we're going to put it towards the rear right here. And this also lines up with our wheel center line mark we made up top. So I'm going to clean these up where I cut this a little bit and clean some rust off of it, and I'm going to get it all spotted up, and I'm going to check some angles and stuff here. I'll pop back in and go over that stuff with y'all. Alright, I got all the edges cleaned up here, just all the jagged stuff. Also to note, I did put a taper here, and I did put a taper here. That way the weld can penetrate as deep as we can get it to. But I kind of checked everything here, and looks like we're about the same angle as what we were. So we're going to go ahead and spot weld this in a couple spots. This where it don't fall off. And I'm going to stick the spindle back up here and do kind of a preliminary measurement, see what we got. Hopefully we can move on to the strut top. And I went ahead and just stuck the spindle back on. I've got some tie wire just kind of trying to hold it in a camber neutral type scenario here, but I don't know if y'all can tell, but we're inside the wheel well now. I plan to use the factory Pontiac wheels until I can do something a little better, but I'm going to go grab a wheel and see if we can't stick it on here and see how it does. Be right back. Well, at this point, the tire's obviously way too big, so I just kind of got it stuck up. It's touching the back of the lug studs, but what I kind of got here, I've got about 1.25 inches from the wheel hub here to the hub. So that tells me that this is going to go in another 1.25 inches. I would really like to have that other inch, but 1.25 inches will get us at least almost inside the wheel well there. And I may go back and cut the rest of that out. But looks like we're not going to have to put a flare on this car. Just need to, you know, get a smaller tire so I can fully mock it up. I'm going to go dig around the junk out back and see if I can't find something that's got this bolt pattern with a smaller tire. Just where I kind of got an idea, but it's looking promising so far. Well, I've dug around for about an hour out here. And while I did find a smaller tire with the right bolt pattern, the center hub is too small, so we're no better off than what we were. So in order to continue forward, I may just cut the tire off of this. That way I can at least kind of have an idea of how far in the wheel well it's going to be from a looks perspective. Like I said before, I am going to run something more appropriate for one of these small cars. Probably going to run something in the 21 to 22 inch tall range of tire. So like a 225/40 or something along that size. Which these are 225/60s, and obviously they're just way too tall. So I'll pick back up here in just a few and I'll let you know what I got. Instead of cutting the tire off of it here, because I know it'll make it harder for the tire shop to get that cut off, I took the spindle back off and measured from the center line ball joint stud to the outside of the hub. And we're about 3 inches, so I set the wheel in there and I measured off the ball joint center, which the ball joint centered straight up. Brought the wheel in. I've got 3 inches between the wheel hub face and the ball joint center stud right there. And we're inside the lip, even just the tiniest amount. We're almost flush, but that's with 3 inches there. Obviously, wouldn't be able to put a wide tire on that. And I really need that extra inch, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it. I'm going to go back in here and do some more measuring, and if I can get that extra inch or maybe even a ½ inch, it'll make us a lot better off than what we were. Because she's right there, you know, for fitment wise, she's super flush. So, unless we want to do stancy boy things, and we could camber it in like 3 degrees, and we'd have all the room in the world then, because we got all kinds of room on the inside. But that's not what we're after. So sometimes you have to go back and kind of reevaluate what you're doing. It's a lot of measuring and trying to mock stuff up and making it look the way you want it. So you just try to keep going there. Alright, I kind of went for broke here. We cut the full almost 4 inches out. It's like 3 15/16. That's about the max we can cut out of this axle. It's about 4 inches. We got about 4.5 from the clamp to clamp here. So we'll cut about 4 inches, you know, 3 15/16 out right here. And I can still get my sway bar in here. I've just got the top of it tie wired up, and it's a 0 degrees camber there with my angle meter. As you can see, we're well inside the wheel well now. An inch will get you a long ways. So I want to try to see if I can shove this tire up in here. Now we got a little extra space, and if it fits, I'll come back. Obviously, I'm still fighting with the tire here. And once again, I can't really get it on the hub because the tire's too tall, but I got about another inch I can go in. But as you can see, we're pretty far in. The wheel will definitely clear the wheel well lip, but we're still good in here with the, you know, the width also. Because this isn't going to turn anymore. We're going to have a very limited up and down motion. I'm going to have to do that way. Because I did mount this a little higher because I want the car to sit lower. And this car is also going to be about 2,500 pounds lighter than the Pontiac, so the spring's going to be really stiff in the back. So I think from here I'm going to call this narrowed good and start on my strut here. I've kind of skipped ahead here. I removed the spring from the strut, and I had some S10 springs. I just cut it down to pretty close to ride height on it. I know it'll go down lower when it's compressed, but my main goal is to get it where it's got a little tension on it with it at full sag. So I can get this strut top in here. We can always change springs later, and those struts are wore out. So I've been out here working on extracting this strut top here. Working on getting these spot welds loose right here. Then I'll bolt this to the strut and kind of put it in the car and see where we're at. Once again, just trying to use everything I've got. You know, that's how you do it the cheapest way you can. So, looks like it's going to be pretty close to the quarter window, as long as I can keep it below it where you can't see it from the side. You know, I'm real big with stuff looking proportional. That's why we narrowed the control arm there, because ain't nobody wants big nasty box weld on the outside of the quarter pound. So we'll just plug along and we'll make changes as we need to. These springs are a lot stiffer than, you know, the factory Pontiac ones. But we'll address that when we get to it. Right now we're just trying to mock it up, and I could take the spring off and like lock it at the right height I wanted. But this is the way I'm going to go about it. You can do it the way you want to. So I'll jump back here in a minute when I finish beating them spot welds off there. We'll pick up. And I got all the spot welds cut with, you know, this really awesome chisel here, you know. Real nice if you don't want to hit your hands. So, but I got the strut top extracted here. And one thing you gotta keep in mind, you don't really have to worry about your caster because it's not turning. One thing you do have to worry about, you know, is changing your wheel center line here. So you pull this up like this, if you notice, it goes back or it goes forward. So it's just always something to kind of keep in mind as you go. I went ahead and pre-marked that stuff. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to play with this a little bit. And I got a little angle finder here. I want to check some angles and you know, do all the math that nobody likes to do, but the math's what's important when you do stuff like this. Your measurements are super, super, super important. Can make or break it, can make it dangerous to drive. You know, ultimately, all this stuff you do, you just kind of got to feel safe about it. And if you feel safe in the car that you built, that's what's important. It's not necessarily what everybody else thinks. So I'm going to do some measuring here and figure out what I'm doing. And when I jump back in and I figure everything out, and I'll let y'all know. Okay. I was just messing around here, and I've got to come in an inch from the sidewall here. So I just took a piece of that 1-inch square tube. I just kind of rough tacked this in for now, just where I kind of get an idea. It's going to have to lay down this way a little bit, which I'll probably have to take the spring off once I figure out exactly where it's going to be. That way I can get it in there where I want it. But we're going to have to tie this into this, and this is going to have to tie into this, and you know, there's going to be a lot of work going on right here. Another thing to kind of consider here, this is like 13¼ inches to, you know, the outside edge here. Well, we don't have 13¼ inches right here. Got more like 11. The good thing is the strut mount only falls about right here, so you can cut about 3 inches off this. So but what I'll do, I'll just come right here, straightforward with the bar tied in here, you know, tie there, and then run straight down into the structure. Then I'll run another bar, you know, at like a 45 down to the inner rocker there, and tie everything together that way. I'm going to ultimately cut this stuff back loose. I just put a 1-piece continuous bar in here. But, you know, you don't know unless you try it. And got my little angle finder there. You know, we're at 0 camber at full sag. So we're not going to have a lot of camber change during this curve on this, because we're literally only going to have like 2 inches of downward travel. The way I got this set up, I only want 2 inches of downward, but you want some more upward. That way it help plant the tire. But, you know, still got our wheel center line, you know, dead on there. And I'm probably going to stop this video for today, because I got to run back out and get supplies. And I really don't feel like doing that today, and don't feel like cutting the other side off, the other frame rails. Ultimately, the goal here is to keep this as light as possible, but we also need it strong so we don't get hurt. So until we get some more supplies, this is about where we're at. And, you know, if y'all wouldn't mind, you know, click that subscribe button down there. You know, all this stuff comes out of my pocket, and I'm not paid to make these videos. So, you know, the more subscribers, eventually we can, you know, start making a little money doing this stuff, and I can get y'all better videos and with better equipment, and, you know, longer videos. I'm trying to show you all the work, but, you know, it all starts with you just clicking that subscribe button down here. I would appreciate it. I'll see y'all tomorrow.